Talktainment Radio Worldwide Sound. Talktainmentradio.com. We give you a reason to come. The world's greatest radio. We give you a reason to stay. Radio, the way it should be heard. You got the power.
The views and opinions expressed are those of the host and guest and not necessarily those of TalkTainmentRadio.com, the management, the staff, or K&E World Network, LLC.
Oh, here we go, baby. We got D and D and D.
All right, let's do it. Welcome to TalkTainmentRadio.com. We go where you go on the world's greatest radio. You are now in touch with, and we changed the moniker, you're now in touch with Talkin Sports Plus with Mr. Bobby and Trent, which is he's going to do it by phone today. We have a very special program that we are going to do for at least a half an hour. We're going to talk about human trafficking, and I will give you the introduction to McGRADY is here, and we're going to have a survivor going to call in and going to talk about that. To get in contact with the show, you can dial 1-877-932-9766. You can Gmail me at the numero number 7, Mr. Bobby, BOBBY, at gmail.com. You can view the program by going to the YouTube channel, and when you do that, you want to type in the word Talktainment, and then hit the space bar and scroll down to radio and hit that, and then Talktainment 2 live, and there we are, talking sports with Mr. Bobby. I added the plus because we do a lot of other things besides sports. Our main thing is sports, but we want to focus in on some other things, and this is one of the things that we want to focus in is, this particular subject, which is human trafficking. So you have any calls, and we'd like for you to call, and you can do that by calling 1-877-932-9766, and you can also get a replay here on Talktainment Radio. All you have to do is go to the Talktainment Radio homepage, and for this particular show, you can hit listen live, subscribe to, by the way, and like, and you're all set. Okay, I'm going to introduce to some and present to others Cornelius McGRADY III. He was sworn in as a Reynoldsburg City Councilman in 2011, but he took office on January the 1st, 2012 through December the 31st of 2015. During his term of office, he sponsored 5 domestic violence awareness resolutions: teen safe dating, bullying, sexual harassment, sexual assault preventing, missing children, and human trafficking. Beginning in the school year of 2010 through the current date, he has volunteered his time and his resources in collaboration with the State Human Trafficking Task Force, the Ohio Attorney General's Office, U.S. District Attorney Carter Stewart's Office, Human Trafficking Survivors, National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, Federal Bureau of Investigation, Bureau Judge Paul Herbert, Jewish Family Services, and numerous other advocates and survivors in the mentoring of Reynoldsburg high school students in his after-school programs on the domestic violence cycle. As you can see, he's a very busy person. To date, the coalition has recognition from the likes of Councilwoman Joyce Beatty, that's here in Ohio, Senator Rob Portman, State Representative Heather Bischoff, the 20th District, and there are many others that are in here. As the founder and visionary advisor for the Reynoldsburg Youth Human Trafficking Coalition, on January the 19th of 2015, the Reynoldsburg Youth Trafficking Coalition was a recipient of the Ohio Liberators Award in the Student Advisory category for their awareness, efforts on human trafficking and recognized as the first after-school youth group in the Columbus metropolitan area to receive the award. Now, Mac is, we call him Mac for short, is a retired sergeant after 34 years of distinguished service. He is also a 3-tour combat veteran and Bronze Star recipient from the United States Army Military Police Corps. Since his retirement in 2014, he is quarterly invited back to each year by the military to co-facilitate the Equal Opportunity Leaders course throughout the United States for the Army. So this is a well-decorated, well-received man. Let me introduce to some and present to others Cornelius Mac McGRADY. Mac, how are you this evening?
I'm doing very well, Bobby. How are you?
Okay. I think Trent's online. Trent, are you on the line? No? Oh, good. Well, you know.
How you doing, Mac?
I'm doing very well, Trent. How about yourself, sir?
Doing well, thank you.
Okay, let's get right into it. Mac, we're talking about human trafficking and how important it is. I'm going to ask you this question, and I'm going to let Trent ask a question. What is human trafficking, and how does it work?
Human trafficking is the sex exploitation of our youth, which includes young men, through force, fraud, coercion, trickery, slick conversation. Force is pretty much self-explanatory. Fraud, forced advertisements. Who wants to be a model? You want to be a model today? Or you'll see an explosion of job applications during the summer. Earn $300. Bring a friend, call a friend. Coercion. If you don't do what I tell you to do, I know where you live. I'll hurt your family member. I'll hurt your brother, sister, your father, etc.
Wow. Coercion. Trent?
So, Mac, how did you get involved in helping out people that have been victims of human trafficking?
Well, let me say this about our after-school program. We're strictly on the education side, so we do not actually interact with the victims. We're educating the youth on the red flags to provide them with a safe campus for psychological education advancement. But to go back to your question, within the military, within my 34 years in the military, the last 10, 12 years, I was a sexual assault advocate on call 24/7, taking calls from soldiers that been victimized and then walking in through the process for counseling, whatever appointments, pushing information up to the higher in terms of how this particular soldier was dealing with their trauma, being there to care for them. So in preparing for life after military, after my last tour in 2008, knowing I had 4 years left or so, I said I want to do something else. So that's when I linked up with SARNCO, Sexual Assault Network of Central Ohio. I wanted to see what their training was in relationship to the military training. Pretty much the same thing, you just have some reporting differences. But that's in 2008, that's when I first attended a teen sex trafficking conference. And that's when I first found out about, or should I say, that's when I first became aware of what sex trafficking was, not only in Ohio, but throughout the United States and the world.
Mac, I noticed, and I'm trying to be very careful about this word here. I noticed that in conversation and different communications, the word survivor is used instead of victims. Can you explain that?
Well, I'll do the best I can. You don't want to re-victimize the individual as identifying them as a victim of this hideous crime. They've been rescued from the perils of this hideous crime. So the identification with that is survivor.
Okay. Trent?
So, Mac,
Yes,
know,
sir.
first of all, I commend you for being on the front end and making our youth aware of the red flags.
Mm-hmm.
So what are some of the things that a male or female youth, they can do when they see these red flags? What are they supposed to do?
Well, they can call the National Human Trafficking Hotline. The first thing, say, well, why not just call my police? Well, you can call your local law enforcement.
Mm-hmm.
But the other thing is to call the National Human Trafficking Hotline, which is, the number is 1-888-373-7888. They in turn, and that is a number you can call without disclosure of any identification. The only thing they're going to ask you, okay, what are you reporting? Where are you reporting? And then city, street, and they in turn will dispatch it to the appropriate authorities within that city within the United States.
Okay. Okay. Very good.
Okay. Mac, with this being such a problem, particularly in the, all over, the drug culture and so forth, are you familiar with a organization called NABLA?
Not
okay.
to the extent where I can speak on it.
Okay, it's the North American Men Boys Lovers Association. And when I did the research on it, I was quite shocked to see very prominent people in the government here in the United States. I'm not going to call any names, but this thing stinks to high heaven. And what they do is they use different acronyms or different words in their subculture. For example, in the daytime, usually none of this stuff goes on, but in the evening time, they have what they call like a pizza shop. And then pizza is a code word, and then you can order different kinds of pizza, which is a different kind of person. And depending upon what you want on it, like pepperoni or sausage and so forth, these all identify the type of people that they have. Now, is this part of some of the things that you do as far as trafficking is concerned, or is that altogether different?
Well, no. I'm glad you brought that question up, because there's a code out there. I had one of the undercover Columbus task force officers showed a false website online that he established just to capture the buyers, the Johns that were on the Bryce and Livingston corridor. And we were doing this presentation at First Church, and he said, Mac, okay, bring up the screen. This was 10:30 in the morning, and at 10:30 in the morning, he was showing the activity on the Bryce and Livingston corridor on his dummy site, as if his dummy site was an actual female selling herself.
Wow.
By the way, the Bryce and Livingston corridor is one of the top corridors for sex trafficking in the Franklin County area.
Is that because of the proximity to the hotels and things that are on, although one did burn down recently?
Yes.
Wow. Yeah. That's close. Trent?
So Mac, with that, and lately in the news, they talked about all these pedophile and sex rings in Hollywood.
Yeah.
So how can this actually go on? And like Mr. Bobby said, you've got these high-level officials that are part of this. How do we attack this issue?
Well, you have to continue via the awareness drive. And that was the question I first asked myself in 2008. How is this happening? You got all these Joes in these high places. But when you look at the Attorney General's, I think it's the 2015 report, they did a study, Columbus, Cleveland, Toledo, Cincinnati, of who the buyers were. Elected officials, law enforcement, military. Those are the individuals that are in those key positions that you least expect. but they're your
Right.
actual perpetrators.
Right.
They're the perpetrators.
The buyers.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Ooh, wow.
That's sad.
I had an opportunity to attend the. I voluntarily attended the John School just to see for myself.
Okay.
And I was surprised.
Yeah.
I was surprised. Let me move past that one. Let me move past that.
Okay. Well, while you're moving past, let me do this. TalkTainmentRadio.com is a 24/7 no-charge worldwide broadcasting facility with hosts delivering on various topics such as news, lifestyle, sports, law, health, wellness, religion, and politics. Now, here's one that I'm going to share with you, and it premieres tomorrow from 9 a.m. until 11 a.m., and it is the compensatory concept with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr., and he discusses various little nuances in the subject of racism, which is white supremacy. Now, for tomorrow's show, for the compensatory concept, the topic will be how to discuss white supremacy as a topic, especially when people ask you that. Tune in tomorrow and hear what Mr. Fuller suggests that we have to say, and you'll be glad you did. All you have to do, along with the other programs that we have here, is go to the TalkTainmentRadio.com homepage and click on programs for the scheduled times. And there you see a little bios and all the pertinent information that is right there. All this is from Talktainment Radio, radio the way it should be heard. My name is Mr. Bobby, and I am the host of Talkin Sports Plus here on TalkTainmentRadio.com. That's radio the way it should be heard. We are talking with Cornelius McGRADY, and we are discussing, because we felt that it was important to get this information out, human trafficking, especially in our city, but all across the United States. People in high places are doing bad things. Mac, you have some statistics in front of you. Care to share one while we get this survivor in?
Yeah, the one question going back to what Trent was asking me, the buyers, you're talking about lawyers, politicians, salesmen, businessmen. These are people who are very well known within the community who think they can get away with this victimless crime. But once they're arrested, they'll find out they're subject to penalization also. Okay.
Seems like we have the survivor on. Let's see here as Mac gets me together here. Okay. We're going to just say her name is Miss B unless she wants to say your name. It's not necessary. Hello, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. This is Barbara Freeman. How are you?
Okay, Barbara Freeman. Okay.
Hello, Barb.
Okay. Barbara, as a survivor, we had just spoken with, I don't like to use that word victim. What happened? How were you coerced, or what happened in this?
Well, let's put it, I was 13 years old once I started being coerced in human trafficking. And my parents wasn't aware. I wasn't aware of human trafficking or any of the things that were going on. This guy, he was older, and he had already had it out for me. There was a vet in the neighborhood who would get me when I grew up. So it was something, as I was in prized possession. And as I got older, this man seen me at the store one day. He approached me. A little girl, just trying to find her way, trying to feel through things, peer pressure a little bit. I wasn't interested the first time. Second time, ran into him. And there was the image. It was that street image of the brim hat with the feather in it, with the white walls, and the bird on the back, and different things of that nature. And he never tried to have sex with me. He never tried to touch me or anything like that. We would just sit in his car, and there was always an aroma that I would always smell, and I never knew what it was. And then one night, my parents allowed me to go to a party. And going to the party, I was given a curfew to return home, and seeing that I was going to be late, me and my best friend, she suggested that we get a ride from him. So when we got in a car, he passed a joint towards my way, which I was thinking it was regular marijuana, but it was not. I come to find out after a while, after I seen it on the news for the first time ever in my life, to know anything about, you know, drugs or anything, I found out that it was crack cocaine.
Mm.
And when I found out what it was like, it was too late. You know, I was young. I had never purchased it or anything like that. My parents didn't know anything about it, but at least my mother did. So when I took it to her, and she took it to my stepfather, and he was like, you know, she got to leave the home. So being 16 years old and not having anywhere to go, and I'm from Alabama, so I really don't have any family here. You know, I mean, I have children now, but, you know, at that time, it was just me, my mother, my two brothers, and my stepfather. And I just thought, you know, they were playing, and so I went out, and when I returned back home, you know, my mother was standing at the door when I knocked, and she got her car keys, and we sat in the car, and I was like, Mom, open the door. And she was just like, hold on. She said, I'm going to come out. We're going to sit in my car. So she came out, we sat in the car. And I said, what's going on? And she was just like, well, you're going to have to go to a shelter. And I didn't even know what a shelter was. And I was just like, well, what does that mean? And she was like, it's where homeless people go. And so, you know, I just started, you know, crying like, how am I homeless? And I got a whole bedroom in there with teddy bears. And you know, I'm just like, Mom, quit playing. And she was just like, he's not going to let you in. But see, he was abusive anyway to my mother. So
yes.
That led me to the streets. And so what I ran into was a man that took me out into some apartments off of Aguilar Road. And he took me into an apartment, and he just started feeding me drugs. And then he started making me feel like I owed him something, which that's where the sexual favor started with him. And then the next thing you know, here he comes with, you know, his friends a couple days later. Mm-hmm. And now I know, you know, as being educated, that it was really an abandoned apartment that he was just in out there. And because it was the same room that we was in. And I was wondering, like, why really wasn't anything in this apartment. And that was another thing that scared me.
Yes.
And so then, like, after, you know, dating with his friends, you know, you know, they would come in and he would just be like, you know, well, your boy said, you know, come in and holler at you. And, you know, he would tell me, like, my God, he going to come in, he going to holler at you. You know, go ahead, it's cool. You know, we're going to, you know, it's me and you know, when they leave, you know, whatever. And, you know, after that, it was like, it was a girl, and he said, this girl going to come down. He asked me my clothes size and stuff. And he said, if a girl going to come down, she going to, you know, help you get dressed. She going to do your hair. You going to go with her. So when the girl came down, you know, I thought it was really weird. And I had never, you know, heard of anything, you know, of human trafficking. You know, when I was young, I didn't even hear nothing of pimping or none of that. And so I went out to the streets with her, you know, for the first time on Aguilar, and we were just sitting at a bus stop.
Okay.
And so that's how it all started.
That's how it all started. Trent, you have some questions for her? We got about 5 minutes. Go ahead.
So first of all, congratulations, and I
Thank you.
bless you for surviving.
Thank you.
How long did this go on before you were able to get away from that lifestyle?
About 23 years of my life.
Wow. 23 years. Mac,
And if,
go ahead.
If I may ask, and you don't have to answer this, how did you get out?
Whew.
You don't have to answer. That's fine.
No, it's fine. I love to tell the story. The blood of Jesus.
Amen. Thank you.
Is that, you know, one day I was walking through the alley, and I was always going through the alley anyway, you know, right off of Cleveland Avenue, and I was always singing Yolanda Adams' Still I Rise, you know, just praying, talking to God.
Right.
Because even then when I was in the midst of human trafficking, you know, also the addiction goes along with it.
Right.
So I started quoting some things out of the Bible, talking about Mary Magdalena, and I was talking about the deaf man and the blind man and all of these miracle acts that God had done. And I was just like, I said, God, you know, well, I had faith. You know, I first called the Holy Ghost at 11 years old, you know, and was baptized. So I was like, God, I got faith of a mustard seed that if I could touch the hem of your garment, that I would be made well. And I said, God, if you are who you say you are, and I know they say don't question God, but it was like I was just at this bottom that I had never hit before.
Right.
And I said, if you are who you say that you are, God, I need you to save me right now because
I
the
know
will
that.
kill me.
Okay.
Praise God.
So,
Praise God.
yeah, so about a couple days later, and I mean, I was crying. I was broke down. Like, a couple days later, a pimp came to me, and he offered me a key, and he said, you can eat here, sleep here, just spend your money with me. And I was just at a point to where I was just like, you know, either they're going to kill me or I'm going to kill them. You know, and
Right.
I took that key because I was tired, because I had been up so many days, because I had been kicked in my head 16 times to steel-toe boots before.
Wow.
But so I have a sleeping condition, and so I went and, you know, turned a date and got the drugs, but I ended up falling asleep sitting on the couch. And so when I got up the next morning, I was cleaning up some cereal that I had dropped on the floor. I guess I was getting up, eating in my sleep, and I found the drugs, and I tried to use the drugs, but my hands was going in convulsions. My hands were shaking so bad, the lighter and everything was going out, and I didn't know what was going on. I thought maybe I was having a nervous breakdown or something. Then I went upstairs to try to do my hair. I couldn't do my hair. My hands were shaking. I couldn't put makeup on. My hands were shaking. So I was just like, well, let me just get out of here because I heard him and his brother outside. And so when I went downstairs and I went to open the front door, it was a ray of light that just came. Like, I wasn't scared. Like, I felt the presence of God, but I didn't know it was the day of my deliverance.
Okay, so that basically, that's how you got out, is through your faith and belief that God would intervene for you. That's how you got out of it. Okay, Mac, in the remaining moments that we have, along with your survivor, you gave me this statistical sheet here about inside the underground sex economy, and it has some statistics on here about pimps' weekly payday. Can you explain that?
What that is, that's a report that CNN did, a study that CNN did in 2014.
Okay.
And that's the breakdown of what they estimated based on their query with pimps of what they made weekly.
Yeah, Atlanta was like 33,000. Denver was 31,000. Any Ohio cities in here? DC at 11,000. That was their weekly pay, weekly thing.
Right.
Wow. Let's see here. What is this? Okay.
This is our event that we're doing Saturday at the Reynoldsburg Police
It's called Soaping Up the Birds. What does that mean?
And what it is, these are bars of soap that we've identified 13 hotels on the far east side of Columbus, the Reynoldsburg Hotel and the one in Pickerington. I've already made contact. We're going to take these bars of soap and drop them off there. This way, if an individual is forced in there to sell themselves and they run across that bar of soap, on that bar of soap has the National Human Trafficking Help number and text number.
Okay. Ms. Freeman, in our remaining moments here, would you like to add anything else to what you have said to educate the people who are listening?
I would just like to say to get well educated, you know, to educate your children at home. It doesn't have to, you know, Councilman McGRADY is the first one that ever brought me into the schools, and that was into Reynoldsburg schools as far as the high school goes.
Okay.
So I would just say, you know, to reach out, you know, to the schools and to the communities to bring this awareness about, you know.
Alrighty.
And I just want to praise God that, you know, I'm going on 10 years sober.
Okay.
You know, all things in that lifestyle. So,
Amen.
So to not know the information, you know what I'm saying, is to be lost.
All right. Trent, I'm going to give you the last word here before we go to a commercial break. Go ahead.
So once again, with everything you've gone through, what is the number one thing outside of education that you would tell the young people to look out for?
I would say to look out for those that are trying to lure you into not being who God has called you to be and not being yourself. Anybody that's trying to take your identity, anybody that is trying to control you, manipulate you, abuse you, tongue bash you, to get away from them.
Okay.
Because that's the first one of the first signs of control.
Okay.
And then it's going to turn. It can turn into traffic.
Okay. Well, Mac, thank you for coming down.
Thank you, Bobby.
Ms. Freeman, thank you, and for being a survivor, Ms. Barbara Freeman. Thank you very much. All righty, TalkTainmentRadio.com. We go where you go. Check us out on 94.1 WGRN. Podcasts all available. Download the TalkTainmentRadio.com app to your cell or to your tablet. That's radio the way it should be heard. Stay right there. Trent and I are going to drop a bomb on you in the sports action. Thank you. Thank you, Barbara.
but